The chair would like to call to order the regular meeting of CUSD 201 Board of Education tonight, May 15, 2018. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton.
Here.
Mrs. Coyle.
Here.
Mr. Price.
Here.
Mr. Rudy.
Here.
Mr. Strohmeyer. Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
We can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just do it.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 24th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the April 24th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so this is a great meeting. This is where we're going to recognize students and staff, and we are going to start with Manning Elementary.
All right, good evening. My name is Lindsay Peterzak, and I am the principal at Manning Elementary. We are so excited to share with you a group of students that have been recognized as our second semester Manning Meteors. These students have so many attributes that we should all be proud of. Students selected for this honor share the following common traits: being trustworthy, respectful, responsible, fair, caring, and of course, being a good citizen. As our fifth grade students get recognized for the final time as Manning Meteors, I know that the junior high is in good hands with amazing and compassionate future student leaders. And as for the future of Manning, we have so many students that will be able to fill these shoes. I will call the names of each grade level and then pause for families to take pictures. Students, please come up when your name is called. I ask that you hold all applause until all names of the grade level are called. So starting with kindergarten, we have Caleb Green, Chloe Downing, Logan Downing, Lillian Stern, Danielle Schubert, and Chloe Lopez. Round of applause. All right, congratulations, kindergartners. From first grade, we have Isabella Frisbee, Thomas O'Malley, Frank Frefowitz, Natalia Sofia Rivero, Alexander Bautista, and Ryan Gordon. A round of applause for first grade. Second grade, we have Cilianis Perez Carrera, Christopher Sandoval Corral, Caleb Wilson, Evangeline Engstrom, Annika Berry, and Timothy Kane. Congratulations, second grade. All right, for third grade, we have Kayla Gasperin, Jermaine Eccles, Willa Ocon, Jeremiah Towns, Titus Burbaum, and Emily Slowinski. Congratulations, third graders. And now for our fourth grade class, Mason Cabrera, Julia Zaremba, Paul Maslany, Riley Brandani, Delaney Stell, and Spencer King. Congratulations, fourth graders. And last but not least, our fifth grade class, Rocco D'Amato, Layla Morales, Andrew Picard, Peyton Pickens, Charles Fears, and Giovanna Green. Congratulations, fifth graders. A thank you to all parents, faculty, the board, for all of your hard work. We're excited for summer break and then a next great school year.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Weiler, the principal at Miller Elementary School. Thank you, Superintendent Carey, school board, staff, parents, and community members for recognizing our outstanding students in the district. And thank you for inviting us here tonight to celebrate diversity in our school and excellence and a drive that our students have to become successful in the classroom. Tonight at Miller, we have many outstanding students that are recognized by the staff. And this last quarter, some of our teachers wanted to recognize some students that achieved outstanding success in the classroom, as well as work ethic and character. So I would like to recognize, starting with our kindergarten students. And if you don't mind, you can stay up at the front until all the kindergartners are called, and then we can applause after that. Our first student receiving an award from Mrs. Hatterberg for outstanding achievement in reading, Nadia Parada. Come on up. Nadia. There she is. Our second student, kindergarten, also receiving the same award for outstanding achievement in reading from Mrs. Nanalig, Danielle Coronel. And our third student from kindergarten receiving an award from Mrs. Hatterberg for outstanding character, Patrick Brandani. Please join me in celebrating our outstanding kindergartners for second semester. Is he here? What? Where's he at? Come here. All right. Not yet. Thank you, kindergartners. You can have a seat. Now in first grade, receiving an award for outstanding character from Mrs. Sanchez, Francesca Giuliano. Come on up. Our next student receiving an award for outstanding improvement in reading from Mrs. Nanalig, Abraham Garcia. No Abraham? And our third student receiving an award in first grade for outstanding character and student helper in class from Mrs. Sanchez, Raven Smith. All right, please join me. Oh, there we go. Awesome job. Good job, Raven. Please join me in celebrating our first grade outstanding students. Go ahead and have a seat. Thank you. Celebrating our second graders for outstanding academics and outstanding character from Mrs. Cadella, Will Graham. Our next student for outstanding work ethic from Mrs. Spargarin, Andrew Hines. Our next second grader for outstanding achievement in reading from Mrs. Gonzalez, Sofia Rodriguez. Sophia. All right. Our next second grader for outstanding academics and character from Mrs. Cadella, Hussein Malik. Come on up. Another second grader for outstanding character from Mrs. Spargarin, Casper Engelsick. And our final second grader for outstanding achievement in reading from Mrs. Gonzalez, Alec Hughes. Please join me in celebrating our second grade outstanding students. Thank you very much. You guys can have a seat. Celebrating third grade from Mrs. Cullen for outstanding improvement in Spanish literacy, Rhea Hanwright. No Rhea? All right. Our next third grader for outstanding improvement on MAP and all academics from Mrs. Kajawa, Michael Frasick. Our second student from Mrs. Cullen's class for outstanding work ethic and class discussion leader, George Welson. And our final student for third grade for outstanding improvement in quality of his class and homework from Mrs. Kajawa, Braden Curran. Awesome job, third graders. Please join me in celebrating. Excellent work, gentlemen. You guys could have a seat. Celebrating our fourth grade students for outstanding coding club leader. We had a coding club this year, and Mrs. Billy recommended Patrick Jurasic for our coding club leader award. Next fourth grader from Mrs. Afray for outstanding student teacher, William Rodriguez. Another fourth grader from Mr. Ritz's class for outstanding math achievement, Aiden Nimeth. Another coding club participant for outstanding work ethic and being a leader from Mrs. Billy, Jose Duran. Outstanding academic growth and work ethic from Miss Afray's class, Angel Gonzalez. And our final fourth grade student for outstanding improvement in reading and math from Mr. Ritz, Brandon Madrid. Please join me in celebrating our fourth grade students. Thank you, fourth graders. Fifth grade, outstanding improvement in literacy from Mrs. Piatek, Eliana Novak. Another fifth grade student from Ms. Slabita for outstanding improvement in mathematics, Jakira Baker. A student from Mr. Wolf, our PE teacher, for outstanding work ethic, Briseis Staniscu. must have some activities going on in the community. Mrs. Jones recommended Michael Payne for outstanding character. And Natalia Angelsek, which I saw in the audience, for outstanding character and helpfulness, also from Mr. Wolf. Please join me in celebrating our fifth graders. Thank you, Natalia. And our final group of students I wanted to highlight that just came over the last week and a half. Our students have been working really hard at the assessments that they take at the elementary school, and something somewhat equivalent to the high schoolers' SATs, and what we do to get in and prepare for college is our MAP tests. And for the first year, our kindergarten through fifth graders took this test this year, and I wanted to recognize all the students that scored in the top 5% in the nation using national norm and percentiles. So starting in kindergarten, Haley Jones. Nice job, Haley. Come on up. Also in kindergarten, Jalen Volkrel. Also in kindergarten, Luis Alday. And our final kindergartner, Nadia Parada. In first grade, Aylin Anderson. Oh, there's Nadia. First grader, James Welson. There's Aylin. For also in first grade, Logan Judd. Also in first grade, Maxwell Hoover. And our last first grader, Samuel McCrae. Moving on to third grade, George Welson. Third grader, Zayed Zaru. Fourth grader, Aiden Nemeth. Fifth grader, Isla Elsner. And our final student, Zoe Abington. And before we applause, I want to recognize 3 of those students scored in the top 5% in both reading and math, and that is Aylin Anderson, George Welson, and Aiden Nemeth. So congratulations to our students. Our Mustang motto is, we charge to success, and we're going to continue that charge moving into next year. Thank you. I would like to welcome Mr. Jonak from the junior high.
Hello, my name is John Jonak. I'm the principal of Westmont Junior High School. Very happy to be here today. Thank you again to the board, the superintendent, and the community for hosting this event. First, we're going to look at our sixth grade students, and the sixth grade team would like to recognize sixth graders that have been students of the month. And so I'm going to ask them to come to the front first, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like. So first, Hazib Ali, and we're going to hold all applause till the very end, please. Jonathan Haley. Maya Hayes. Anthony Hill. Gianna Morales. Lana Fung. Aaron Rohde. Shar Riema. Vincent Ruiz. And Natasha Shamarina Egg. And so these students, the sixth grade team wanted to acknowledge them. They are the 2018 Students of the Month. These young men and women have shown leadership skills since the onset of the sixth grade. Despite the trials and tribulations that accompany adolescence, they continue to persevere. These students exhibit Panther attributes, including respect of teachers and peers, responsibility to complete homework, and many of these students have achieved honor roll recognition. They are willing to put forth extra effort to be positive role models in both actions and academics. We're very proud of our sixth grade Students of the Month. Congratulations. Next, the seventh grade team. The seventh graders, I'd like you to come as I call your name. Campbell Hevlin, Lily Kastner, Michaela Kim, Tommy Niemeyer, Henry O'Connor, Matt Picard, Veronica Risden, Tim Rosland, and Hayes Templeton. The seventh grade team would like to acknowledge these students for their exemplary example of following the Panther path. These students succeed academically and are stellar role models for their fellow Panthers. They tackle challenges responsibly and show grit when faced with obstacles. They are also involved through band, choir, athletics, and clubs. Congratulations, seventh graders. All right, and now on to my eighth graders. Following eighth graders, please come on up. Jacob Barrett, Brendan Shimilewski, Mark Dold, Caleb Kleins, Mary Niemeyer, JJ Sleeper. Please come on up. All right, and before we continue, I wanted to have one more person come up, and that's Kylie Johnson. He's got it off to the side. There's a reason why I separated, but all of these students are here to be recognized for going beyond, above and beyond in the student service learning commitment. These students exemplify the word commitment, and their efforts have made a positive impact on both local and global communities. In a quote from David Green, "You need an attitude of service. You're not just serving yourself. You help others to grow, and you grow with them." And these students have done just that. On top of the student service learning commitment, which, by the way, our students need 36 hours from 6th grade to 8th grade in order to graduate on stage, and that is a board requirement. All of these students have done that and gone beyond. But recently, we've had one student go well beyond, and that is Kylie Johnson, who has achieved over 100 service hours at her time at Westmont Junior High School. So congratulations to all of my 8th graders. I am very proud of the work that you do. Congratulations. And now for the exploratory team, they would like to acknowledge the following 3 students who were recognized as Best of Day performances at the IESA Solo and Ensemble Contest in Bradley, Illinois on Saturday, March 17th. Each judge selected one Best of Day from a full day of performances. Ms. Fisher is extremely proud of these students and thanks them for their hard work and dedication. Please hold all applause till the end. Kate Dreckney for violin, Christina Federley for horn, Matt Picard for trumpet. Congratulations, musicians. Well done. And Christina and Kate, we're going to miss you next year. Mr. Vaughn is very fortunate to get you. Mr. Picard, you're still ours. Go ahead and take seats. And finally, the exploratory team would also like to acknowledge the following students for being the top 3 fundraisers in their annual Hoops for Heart event for the American Heart Association. This year was the best year yet, and Westmont Junior High School raised just about $5,000. We would like to thank everyone for their participation in the event and recognize these students. At this time, please come on up, Denali Belmonte, Kate Dreckney, and Miles Walsh. Or just Kate. Congratulations, and thank you, Kate. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Balderman.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see so many wonderful students getting the recognition they deserve. Thank you, Superintendent Carey and the Board of Education for this evening. To my fellow administrators and teachers also. We have so many wonderful students at our high school, and we want to recognize a select few this evening. We're going to start with the top students in this class, an incredibly talented class. To be in the top 10 of this class, you had to have more than just a 4.0 GPA. In fact, there are almost a dozen students who had over a 4.0 GPA and still did not qualify for top 10. So these students have really distinguished themselves academically. I have been informed that there's a couple sporting events tonight, and we also have some study groups. This is AP week, so there's some study groups going on, so some students are not here. I guess that's how they got into the top 10. But we have many wonderful students that we are going to be able to recognize. So We'll start with our valedictorian. Ben, if you could please hold your applause to the end of each section. Our valedictorian, Ben Ledwan. Our salutatorian, Macy Chapman. Other members of the top 10 include Justin Gomez, Wes Jagailo, Chad Johnson, Rhiannon Gosiniak, Maggie McGee, Caitlin Niemer, Sydney Party, Carrie Slaga, and Natalia Stroop. Our top 10 students for the class of 2018. We're extremely proud of you. Congratulations. Not only for your academic work, but also for being amazing citizens during your 4 years here at Westmont High School. Congratulations to our members of the top 10 of the class. We're very proud of you. Our flags team is a perennial powerhouse, and they were state champions this year in their category. We're very proud of them. They work very hard. I see them tossing those flags high up in the air constantly, practicing in the Commons area, and it paid off because this year they were tops in their category in the state. So we'd like to introduce the team and their coach. Robin Magne, Natalia Stroop, Lillian Lewandowski, Kyle McGuinn, Natalie Bowers, Anahi Rodriguez, and the coach, Megan Boyd. Congratulations to our wonderful flags team. You did a great job. You can see Kyle is sporting his AP t-shirt too, so very nice. You look fantastic. Congratulations to our flags team. Great work. There's so many students who give wonderful service back to the community. That's one of our major themes, and I know that's a theme throughout the district. We just heard about the wonderful service at the junior high. But our National Honor Society Outstanding Service Project Award winners, these students have gone above and beyond in their service to the community. We'd like to recognize them at this time. Ashley Liljeberg, Katie Schultz, Anita Vasquez, Katie Rosso, Stephanie Tenorio Zavala, Leslie Gonzalez Serrano, and Cherish Banks, National Honor Society Outstanding Service Project Award winners. Great students, leaders, but also tremendous in their service to the community. We're very proud of you. Congratulations. We were so proud of our choir program that won the status of grand champion at the Joliet competition just a few months ago, and then our band program, tonight we're featuring the jazz portion of the band program, had some outstanding performers. The following student was chosen from amongst dozens of schools and all performers as one of 5 total students from all levels of competition, all sizes of schools, as an outstanding performer at the Illinois State University Jazz Festival University. That's Brenna Kane. Congratulations, Brenna. We also had outstanding soloists from the Illinois State University Jazz Festival, Hannah Wilger and Jack Cosart. If you ever get a chance to hear our jazz band, it's well worth the admission there. Just, you think you listen to a professional group. They're amazing. And that's because we have a strong music program all the way from elementary school through the high school. Congratulations to our outstanding jazz musicians. We're also recognizing students who performed extremely well in the Scholastic Art Competition. So the following students are Scholastic Art Awards winners: Molly Jameson, Justin Hins, Elena Kraft, Ian Ryan, Lisa Nemiak, and John Turlak. Congratulations to those art winners. We're very proud of you. The last three students we'd like to recognize tonight have earned the seal of biliteracy. These students have demonstrated they're proficient in multiple languages through a series of exams taken at the high school level. This is a statewide recognition, so we'd like to introduce these students who have earned the seal of biliteracy: Jesus Vasquez, Eric Hahn, and Hatasia Devishi. Congratulations. That's quite an accomplishment. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
And now we will recognize staff.
This year, we have 4 of our staff members who will be retiring at the end of the school year. And when your name is called, if you could please come to the stage. First, we have Cindy Caliendo. Cindy began teaching in CUSD 201 in 1985 as a full-time 4th grade teacher. She taught at South for 22 years and 11 years at Manning. During her tenure, she served on the district and building leadership team, Curriculum Advisory Board, the Discipline Committee, and many more. She has been the sponsor of the We Can Club for the past 15 years. Laura Hayes. Laura started in 1985 teaching self-contained special education in the Intermediate Development Learning Program. In 1994, when the district moved to an inclusion model, she moved to 4th grade. After 9 years there, Laura moved to 5th grade, where she is today. Laura served as a WTA building rep for a few terms and president for 2 terms. She helped negotiate several contracts and led the district team through the initial teacher recertification program. She has had many extra duties, served on countless committees, and helped with many programs. It has been a busy 33 years. And Diana Mulvey. Diana considers herself fortunate to have worked in CUSD 201 for 23 years. She began as a part-time technology facilitator at Manning School, where she taught computer classes and helped the staff implement technology. She soon became a full-time by becoming the gifted instructor at Manning, which later expanded to include Miller and South schools. Diana has served as the district's gifted coordinator while teaching gifted classes, the Manning School principal for 4 years, and a 1st grade teacher for 1 year. Diana is currently in her 6th year teaching 5th grade at Manning. And Liz Delgado. Liz began her career at CUSD 201 as a teaching assistant at Miller Elementary School in 1998. She was part of the original team organizing the support staff union WESPA and was a member of the bargaining team for the first 2 WESPA contracts. Liz completed 19 years of service at the time of her retirement. Congratulations to all of our retirees.
Okay, are there any public comments? You sure you don't want to say anything? Okay, the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations. 2, approval of student tours. 3, approval of SACID classroom lease. 4, appointment of school treasurer. 5, review and award of asphalt seal coating and repair bid. 6, approval of May 2018 expenditure report. And 7, ratification of April 2018 regular payroll.
So moved. Second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the discussion, Mr. Weiler, is the dual language program report. Okay, if the board members want to come down here, there's going to be a presentation. And then, Tim, when that's done, we'll come back up here in case there's any questions.
Yeah, computer's on. Sorry, projector went to sleep. But Ms. Nalig and I and Michelle Leidy met over the last couple weeks to really dive into some research on dual language. And we've been doing that for the last couple years. But we did have a dilemma and a question that was brought up 2 board meetings ago, and we wanted to prepare some options for what some solutions could be in a district of our size and with the resources that we have, and then also some suggestions and options of resources we don't have but would lead you guys as the board and the district into helping make some decisions in terms of putting some things in place. So thank you for welcoming us here tonight to talk with you. It was on when we started awards. There it goes. Right. Perfect. By the end of our presentation, we're hoping that we have a little bit better understanding and can ask some questions about various instructional options available for our students in the dual language program, because we currently, in 2018-19, will have the first full K-5 dual language program. And the program is growing to such a success and want and need that we wanted to make sure we respond appropriately to the community when we have more students and families that are interested than we have seats in a classroom. The purpose of dual language is, the main purpose is to provide ELL support for our students that come into school that have a Spanish language background. And then also one of our pillars and one of our mission and vision for the dual language program is to promote bilingualism, biliteracy, and biculturalism. And the 3 students that obtained the seal of biliteracy this year is just an example of what is to come with the dual language program and having a whole class, a whole cohort of students getting the seal of biliteracy and having that added to their diploma when they graduate high school.
So we just wanted to give you a little bit of background of where we started with the dual language program. Back in 2012, we were looking at different types of programs to service our ELL students and just how to improve our services. And if you look at the Thomas Collier graph there, where it shows the different types of programs, the dual language, the other programs were ESL services, pull-out, bilingualism. They may start off well, but when you get to 5th grade, they have a dip down and the students don't perform as well. And the yellow one is a dual language program, which shows they continue growing in junior high and high school. And that's why we had looked into the program with the principal at the time, Kelly Voss, and Superintendent Kevin Carey, and looked into servicing our ELL students with a program that would show success. So that was just a little bit of background where we started with the dual language program. That was in 2012 that we looked at different programs and then took a workshop for the program design for dual language. Then we started the dual language program in 2013 with our first kindergarten class. And next year, we will have a full program in kindergarten through 5th grade at the elementary level. So our program has been increasing in interest, and we want to continue to service our ELL students, and in addition, our English speakers that are interested in learning Spanish, so that both strands will be bilingual. When we were looking at the program, there was different program models available of the percentage of Spanish and English in the classroom. There's 90-10, 80-20, 50-50. And we went with the 80-20 model because research shows that the students are not exposed to enough Spanish outside of the classroom, that you need a high percentage of Spanish in the classroom so that they can become fully bilingual. And that's why we went with the 80-20. 90-10 we thought was not too high and not enough English in the classroom. So.
And this is not the percentage or makeup of the class, but the instruction of the class, because those are some of the things that we talked about at the last meeting. So I wanted to make sure we're clear about that part. So 80-20 is where we start.
The percentage of Spanish that is spoken that is taught in the classroom, and the percentage of English that is taught in the classroom every day.
Sure. So based on choosing a model back in 2013 and 14, kindergartners start with the Spanish instruction at the 80% level. English is in 20%. That does not include any of their specials, PE, art, music, lunch, recess. That just includes the time that they're with the teacher. They progressively, pardon me? Sorry. They progressively get decreased in the amount of Spanish as they get closer to 3rd grade. And at 3rd grade, it becomes an equal parallel where there's just as much Spanish taught as English, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And this is the model that we chose to follow, and we will have fully implemented next school year. So we did discuss at the 2 board meetings ago about what makes successful dual language programs. A huge part of it is having the right amount of both languages in the room to help master the language that students are not proficient in. So if you, because it's an ELL program, students that speak Spanish as their main language at home would need a balanced amount of English speakers in the classroom to help each other out during the Spanish and English times. And the opposite is true for those that are English speakers at home that need strong Spanish speakers to help master the curriculum, literacy, and reading and writing and speaking.
So an ideal classroom would be balanced with 50% English speakers, 50% Spanish speakers. The least amount would be 33% of the class is Spanish speaking, to have both languages represented. Our current class breakdown is in kindergarten, 7 Spanish speakers, 16 English speakers, with a 30% of the students Spanish speakers. 1st grade, 5 Spanish speakers, 18 English speakers, with a percentage of 21 Spanish speakers. 2nd grade, 8 Spanish speakers, 12 English speakers, with a percentage of 40 in the Spanish speakers. 3rd grade, 11 students speak Spanish. And I should say that this is where they start off, but ideally once they're in well, once they're in a dual language program, they are able to communicate in both languages. So it's not that they're only Spanish speakers. Now they're in the works of being bilingual.
But backtracking, when they started kindergarten, this is what the makeup
Yeah.
would be. And so you can see our current kindergarten first grade class, and this would go hand in hand if you asked our kindergarten first grade teachers that they struggled a little bit with the curriculum and having enough students in the class to help the English students master the Spanish content. And so that was one thing that we saw the last 2 years as just something that we needed to problem solve. We currently, current where we sit is we have, and this is what we've done the last few years, we always project for a class of 20, and 10 seats are given to English speakers, those that speak English or their parents say that they speak English at home, and then 10 seats are left open for Spanish-speaking native students, and we try to balance the class out. We get to registration, and we see how many additional students we have that are interested in the dual language program. The max recommended size of a dual language class with a TA, and this number can change, and it fluctuates based on school board recommendations, not policy on class size, but it would be a class of 24, and we would like to have 12 students in there that would be native Spanish speakers and 12 that would be native English speakers. And the reason we hold it at 20 is just to wait and see what the growth is like from now until the summer, because we've done some research on the number of Spanish-speaking students that register from kindergarten open house or registration, which has happened a couple weeks ago, all the way to the summer registration, has been on average 3 to 4 students. So we just keep enough seats open to make sure, because it is an ELL program, we want to make sure we service the students that come into the district that would benefit from our ELL program, which is the dual language program, which is an enhanced model. So that gets us to our dilemma. What are some options available for our enrollment if it exceeds the capacity of one kindergarten classroom? So one kindergarten classroom enrollment, we could talk about what a good number would be, but current numbers, I believe Manning had 3 kindergarten classes at 14, 15, and 16 this year, while Miller had started off the year, and we maxed out at 24 in both classes, and then had a couple kids move out of both Ms. Hatterberg's monolingual class as well as Mrs. Garcia's dual language class. So we got up to 24 in both classes at one part of the year. So that's just a number that I believe the teachers feel in kindergarten, with some support, they can get the kids access to all the curriculum and get them growing. So a couple models that we were given the challenge to try and come up with some options that are research-based and out there. And so we're just going to go kind of through what other districts are doing to help promote either a Spanish bilingual culture in their schools or enhancing their dual language program. One model is called Flex, and it's a research-based model where it would be equivalent to the students at the elementary level getting a special twice a week for 40 minutes. So similar to art, similar to music, similar to media or library, they would get access to Spanish instruction for 40 minutes. The pros would be most students in the building could be exposed starting at an early age, moving on through the end of elementary school, and there would not be a need for a balanced demographic, because that is one of the components that makes dual language a successful program. Some of the cons would be minimal language proficiency at 5th grade, because as we know, 80 minutes a week for 6 years of Spanish instruction is probably not the best for retaining and practicing oral fluency, and that's where we really want to get our kids to master that language component. And then developing, a con would be developing a new K-12 program to include what this looks like as a foreign language experience, and then staffing who would teach the class. The next model is somewhat similar. Instead of having it twice a week, it would be every day. So it would be a class period for all students in the school for a 45-minute block a day. It's called FLES. And the pros would be it's more consistent. No need for balanced demographics again. But again, some of the cons, developing a curriculum, staffing, someone would need to teach it. and Spanish would replace another elective like art, music, if we did not change the way students had their specialist classes. As an option, I'm not saying that would be an only option, but that would be on the table as something that we would have to decide. Go ahead.
Either that,
Celeste.
or they would miss some of their one of their other subjects, instruction to take this class.
One-way immersion, which is a research-based model where students of a language, so English-speaking students, would be fully immersed into the Spanish literacy. 100% of their day would be to get them to master Spanish. There would be no percentage of English instruction from the teacher. Some of the pros would be very extensive exposed Spanish for the entire day. No need to balance demographics because all the students can be of the same language background in order to take part of this program. And acquisition data shows upward trends. It's very similar to the ones that we showed with the dual language program in EL students. Again, the cons that continue to see development of a K-12 curriculum, staffing, and not having as much exposure to English to support going out into the real world and being career ready in English and Spanish, being bilingual in both, and having that burden be placed on households for the English component because the classes would be in Spanish. A second dual language section for the district. It continued to expand on the exposure of both languages, which is a part of our vision and mission as a dual language department. The acquisition data shows very positive trends in terms of how our model supports growth over long periods of time and gets students ready for the seal of biliteracy and being bilingual as they go into college or career, and opportunities for collaboration and having multiple teachers teaching the same subject at the same grade, because we currently don't have that. At Miller, we have one teacher that teaches monolingual, and then we have another teacher that teaches dual language. So when they collaborate, it is on objectives, but there would be a little tighter collaboration process because they're teaching similar things during the similar timeframes of the school year. Some cons, resources, double the resources. Staffing, it would have impacts if we continue to look at a 5 teacher grade level model, and one of those classes is a dual language class, and the other 4 is an English only class, and our demographics don't change too much. That would mean if we opened up another class, we could see a drop in English only classes to 3 and an upward trend of dual language to 2. So the balance would be 3, and still having the same number of sections, but more dual language and less English only classes. Physical space, not taking a look at Miller and Manning and seeing what some solutions would be in terms of if it's still a district program housed at Miller, would both classes be at Miller? Would it be divided, one at Miller, one at Manning? Those questions would have to be discussed. And another kind would be cannot meet the minimum class composition requirements for a successful program if we move into an additional kindergarten section. And then that kindergarten section would grow year after year until that cohort gets to 5th grade. Anything to add on that one?
No, just keeping in mind to have another second language class, you still need at least the minimum of that 33% of the class to be an ELL, where currently we have some of the classrooms not meeting that minimum of 33%.
And then a lottery, which is students who enroll in the program, we'd have to have a process very early on, communicate with every component that we use, whether it's yard signs, it's early on, it's summer, when we have our table during the Thursday fests downtown Westmont, we'd have to really articulate and be clear on the lottery process, making sure dates are clear with everyone so it's a fair process. And then once the lottery is chosen, making sure those that are electing to be a part of the dual language program that process is then met in a timely manner where families can prepare for the school year. Fairness is an interest of everyone. That's a pro. And then no need for additional staffing if we keep it at a lottery and one dual language section. And some students, unfortunately, would not be able to participate in the program, and that was the defining question. How do we get it so no one is turned down from the dual language program if interested and their child is ready? And, oh, sorry.
No, just with the lottery, so all the students, the ELL students would not be a part of the lottery system to meet that minimum 33%. We also discussed siblings. If you have a sibling in the dual language program already, they would have a place in the dual language program, would not be a part of the lottery. And any other students that are interested in the program would have an opportunity to be a part of it if you're placed in the lottery system.
And then just some districts in the surrounding DuPage, Will, Kane County areas that have lottery systems and dual language programs in place.
So other districts that have come up with the same dilemma of having a high interest in the dual language program and how to address that have gone with the lottery system. And these are just a few of the districts that we looked into that have a lottery system in place now as how they choose who is able to participate in the program. And this is some of the districts just offer it at one school. So they have a number of schools that are being pulled into one school, and some of them have more than one school with the dual language program being offered.
So next steps, questions, and suggestions and ideas.
Did you have any of the other schools, did you find any other schools that used any of the other models besides the lottery? Or is that the primary choice of most districts when this dilemma came up?
That is the number one choice that I think the FLES and the FLEX is done more at the junior high and the high school level, not so much at the elementary level. But the majority of schools do go with the lottery.
So I have a question. Sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
Some of the schools are a little bit larger than Westmont, so when they do fill a second class, they do absorb the second dual language class and close down a monolingual class. But you're talking about districts that have, 15 to 20 kindergarten classes, and some districts don't have that many, but that is a dilemma that they choose to do, and with their high numbers, it doesn't have as high of an impact on staffing and other components that make it tricky to open up other sections.
Another district that does the one-way immersion program is Schaumburg, and the reason they do it is it's with Chinese because they do not have enough students to have a two-way model, so they have the one-way immersion with Chinese.
So thank you for the presentation, first of all. My question is relative to the number of students in our district that are ELL and ESL in the elementary school right now, and if we know anything about projections moving forward. It looked like there's plenty of English-speaking students who are interested in the program, but it's essentially the Spanish-speaking students. If we were to add a second, a second classroom, do we know right now what the demographics of our elementary school district-wide are, and are there enough Spanish-speaking elementary students to fill a second classroom? That's question number one. And then question number two is, do we know why they're not participating in the dual language program if there are enough? Is it that they're not aware? Is it because for some reason they prefer Manning? Like, do we have that information?
It's a good question. It's hard to say what our incoming kindergartners are going to be until they're actually here and they register. That's when we know the numbers of how many are ELLs. And there's also a screener that we have to give them, and based on their results on the screener, we know if they actually qualify as an ELL or not. So we can't have that information until they register, and sometimes families wait till the summer to do that. So we just have the numbers of the students that have currently already turned in their application. And your second question was?
If we know that there are students who are ESL or ELL, I mean, even currently in the elementary school, why have they chosen to not be a part of dual language? And I mean, I would just say, based on conversations I've had with parents, some of them, there's still lack of awareness, there's still a lack of understanding, and I just didn't know if you all had also had some theories as to why some of the Spanish-speaking families have chosen not to participate, if that is the case.
When I came in 3 years ago, we did have, that question came up a lot, is a lot of families, because they had older kids, they like the students going to the similar school. So that was a dilemma that we always constantly try to talk to parents about. But I think we've targeted those incoming kindergarten students, or even students that are new to the district and they come in at first, second grade. We have also really done a better job of evaluating. Nancy has gone to both buildings to meet with the students, to talk with the parents, especially if they filled out, there is a survey, a home language survey that every student in the district fills out when they come here, whether it's kindergarten. And we have a really good relationship with the Manning office and our front office. And once we see that they're Spanish speaking and they're bilingual and they possibly qualify for ELL services, that's when we get involved and try to see if there's a way to show that dual language is a good program for them, depending on what year they're getting into the district. And we do have, I can't look, I'm looking at my phone. Just today, we're looking at access tests. Access tests are given to students that are in ELL. There was between 80 and 90 tests given district-wide. So that kind of gives you a number, K-12, of how many ELL students. Of those, many of them speak other languages other than Spanish. We could break that down very easy to show by grade how many bilanguage. I know Ms. Chapinski has that for Miller, Mrs. Ritter has that for Manning, and Mrs. Leidy has that for the junior high and high school. It'd be very simple to get that information to answer that question.
Yeah, it's a minimum number of students that are Spanish speaking and choose not to go in the program, and there's different reasons. Sometimes families just want their children to. Sometimes it's lack of information, but just want to make sure that they know the English very well. If again, like Tim had said, if their older students are at Manning, they wanted them to continue being at the same school. And then also, not all ELLs are Spanish speakers. So if there's another language, sometimes they think it might be too overwhelming to have them learn an additional language, like a third or fourth language. But we do have families that are in the dual language program and are learning a third language or a fourth language. They are ELLs and are not Spanish speaking.
Right. Yeah, I guess the core of my question kind of gets back to, Tim, you mentioned grade level centers as a potential, solution should we add a dual language classroom in the future. And I guess at the core of my question is there demand from the English language learners that are speaking Spanish for that, should we decide to move in that direction? I don't know that that's a solution for next year in particular,
Sure.
but maybe down the road.
We currently have 7 Spanish-speaking students, not sure if they qualify for ELL. Chances are a few of them will, that are interested in kindergarten dual language, and we're not 100% certain. We have canvassed all the students that are coming in, but that's the whole purpose of, today was day 1 of the kindergarten screeners, and already after day 1, a lot of great information that we're seeing about the kids to help drive decisions before the school year begins, which sometimes this happens 30 days into the school year, and then you're already into second quarter. So we're really trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of our incoming kindergartners.
Okay, thank
And
you.
if I can say one more thing, I think some of these programs that we presented take some time to plan out and really look into it, that I'm not sure if from not implementing in the fall, I don't think it's enough time to be successful in running a program. So, I mean, we're talking about having curriculum ready, staffing, who's going to teach some of these programs, materials. So it takes some time to implement these programs so that they can be successful.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems feasible that we could ultimately be looking at a short-term, long-term solution if we think the demand is there.
Right.
And just to show, this past year with ELL, there were 0 kindergarten students at Manning, and there were 6 at Miller. And so that just shows you all the kids that were in kindergarten that received ELL support were at Miller this year. Not saying all were Spanish speaking, but
Yep.
that is a pretty good indicator of us really trying to focus on
Yep.
the ELL students in the district and making sure that those that speak Spanish do head over to Manning.
Yeah,
Sorry. Are you?
Yep.
I have a couple questions. So the first one, I did talk a little bit with Kevin about this afternoon. So we have, kind of a great problem here. We have an issue where the dual language program, it looks like it's success, so kudos to everybody involved. So, so I have 2 questions. One is, do we know the demographics of this incoming kindergarten class compared to, like, let's say the last, 10 years or whatever? In terms of, are we talking about a bubble class, or are we talking about...
Something that's going to trend
Yes,
in the
that's,
upward direction.
yes, because, and one of the things that Kevin and I talked about today was, obviously, some of the solutions here are much longer-term planning and all that. So as of today, when you had kindergarten registration, do we have the number of kindergarten kids registered? Is that larger than in the past? Do we know that offhand? Maybe you don't right now.
It's larger than last year, but I do know, looking at trends, Manning had a small enrollment year for their kindergarten class. So I wouldn't use last year, but I would go back a couple years and kind of see where the data kind of shows how many. And I know right now we have communicated much more effectively as 2 buildings to get our kindergarten families in. So I'm really excited to see what is our growth from now until the registration date and then start of school. If we did a good job of targeting all our families in the district, then we're not going to see that number grow too much, but our teachers in both buildings have said they're having parents come in a lot earlier in record numbers, which is a good thing.
Because it would be good to see, and again, I've been at the last couple of registrations. All of a sudden, there'll be a new family who just, spring is the time when people move. So there might be, who knows yet, what we, have. And, the word on the street is District 201 is pretty good,
That's right.
in a lot of ways. So, so it would be an interesting conversation to have as we go forward, is if this is a bubble year, or if it's more, or if the dual language program is driving families here, things like that. That would be an interesting discussion.
Sure.
And I have a couple other questions, but I guess the million-dollar question, and I told Kevin I was going to ask this, do you all have a suggestion as to what we can do, short-term, long-term, blah, blah, blah?
I think for if we were interested in looking at opening a second section and the trend continues to move in the positive direction, I definitely think in having those 2 teachers being able to collaborate in the same building would be essential and necessary. I even think there would be, and this is a conversation that's starting to kind of talk as we're really trying to revamp our PLCs and get our teachers talking more about what's for next year. Even though there's a couple people leaving, there's some movement in the buildings in terms of grade levels. Really getting everyone talking more to each other about the curriculum is a necessity. And the 1 hour a week on PLCs might just not be enough to get us in the direction we want to be going. And so something where our staff have access by grade level to each other more frequently is something that the teachers are very excited to hear and kind of and investigate more. How can all the kindergarten and all the first grade teachers be more in line and on the same page and having some common plan time and just more time to work with one another? Because 3 institute days and the 4 SIP days and all the PLCs 1 hour a week, with all the work that we want to do and all the great things we have going for our kids, we just want to make sure we're using first of all, we want to make sure we're using our time the most effectively, and then if there are gaps, we want to address those accordingly. And so teachers working more with their grade levels is definitely something that teachers are excited to start talking about.
But the question is, are you would it be your recommendation to have a second dual language class? Is that what I guess that's what I'm
Not
asking.
right now. I think we definitely have to, I would wait to see where we're at registration time.
I didn't mean tonight. I mean
Yeah.
for the next school year, because obviously,
I think in response to what you were saying earlier about, is this a trend? Is this just a bubble year? I think it would be good to go with the lottery first as to, and to see if this is a continued trend, then implementing something else in the future, or planning for in the future, how are we going to respond if it's just a bubble year, so that we have a response more planned out. I think if we're going to do if Tim is talking about having a second classroom, we also have to see, do we have the numbers to have an additional class? So we would have to see if this is just a bubble year or if this is a continuing trend of our numbers going in a certain direction first.
yeah, because it is, through the history of, as long as we've been here, there's some classes that are really, really small, and then there's some classes that are big, and as long as we've been on the board, there's been years where we've had discussions about staffing, because especially the junior high and high school level, you need maybe less teachers or more teachers because of the amount of students. And so I don't know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if we know yet whether we have, if it's a demographic, just number of people, or it's the program, or that kind of thing. So, so are you suggesting that for now we go with the lottery system as a plan for the 2018-19 school year, or are you waiting to, or are you going to? Are you looking for, what are you looking for us from tonight?
I think we're looking for 2019-20 school year. What would that look like right now?
Okay. So as one more follow-up question, I did have a lengthy conversation with Kevin about this today. So, so if we talk about this lottery system, so the tough question is what happens to the kids who don't get into the program? And is it somebody who wasn't the first one there on the day of registration? Is it somebody who just moved into the neighborhood and they hear we have a dual language program and now they're 12th on the list? Or, and the question is, correct me if I'm wrong, but once you're, you can't just jump in down the road, but maybe you can on first grade? Does that make sense?
Right, currently, you can enter in kindergarten and first grade. After that, it is not recommended for students to go in because you won't have that solid foundation that you need that you receive in kindergarten and first grade. The reason I say the lottery system, it is a fairness of anyone that's interested in the program has an equal opportunity to be a part of the program, where if you have first come, first serve, not everyone, and you'll have people lining up at the door waiting to be the first ones to get on the list, and not everyone has the same opportunity. Where you have the lottery system, everyone that's interested has the same equal chance of being a part of the program. The districts that we've looked into that do it, they have a waiting list, and whoever is not pulled is put on the waiting list. You do have kids that leave and come in, so you do have that opportunity of still being, the possibility of being in the program if someone leaves. someone decides not to go into the program. So it's not like set in stone. You don't get to go in if you're not pulled in the lottery.
And if you look at our reverse trend data, we have a lot more students that started the program that are Spanish speaking and a less downward trend, and whereas our English speaking families are on the upward trend because we currently have 17 interested right now that have kindergartners coming into the district. I'm sorry, 19. Not
Okay.
17. We have 7 students that are Spanish speaking that are interested in the dual language program.
So those 9 English-speaking students that are on the waiting list,
Yes.
that's what you would suggest to have a lottery system for those students? Or no, they're just on the waiting list?
They're just on that, so they're just on a waiting list right now because that is how, like, when we started the program, we're really trying to promote it. We're trying to, as you look at the couple starting years, we're really trying to promote those not only in our ELL and Spanish-speaking households, but our English-speaking households to really buy into the program. And so I think we were doing trying to promote it, and now we're at a level where it's promoting itself. The district is doing a great job of just having families know about it from all the different forms of communication. Now we need to put something in place because chances of us having a reoccurring problem every year of too many families interested is probably, there's a good chance of that happening, whether it's Spanish and English families or one group, but with 17 or 19 English speaking families interested in the program, that is, you're looking at trend data that is definitely up from the last couple of years. So like I said, if it's a bubble year, or are we going to see the same trend in that 23 the next year and then 25? So I think if we're looking at dual language, we need to look at the number of Spanish-speaking kids that can be in a class to help promote the Spanish growth. And I think right now, we cannot say that 10, 11, 8, 5, or 7 is enough to cut in two and turn into a second class.
So in essence, all 19 are on a waiting list?
No, there's 10 seats right now, 10 Spanish seats and 10 English seats that are filled, and then the remaining is left until after registration and a week before school starts. We've always operated in terms of parents that were interested get on the dual language list, families that speak Spanish get on the dual language list, and we just fill the class from the bottom up. And so now we're running into the dilemma that possibly not all 19 English families will be getting in, so there is a waiting list this year.
So those 10 were first come, first served.
First that called the school and got their names, their interest on the list, which is similar to the year before and similar to the year before that, and we're realizing that's just not a fair system.
Okay. So they were basically said, sure, you're basically in the program because we weren't anticipating this problem.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a slightly different question.
Yes.
The dual language program students, are they academically equal to the non-dual language classes? Are they reading at the same level? Are they learning math at the same level? Are they higher? Are they lower?
They are getting the same curriculum, same standards. If you look at our assessments, MAP data, STAR data, our FMP, which is how we measure reading, they are not, especially at the starting level, they're not measuring at the same levels as our kindergarten students, but the gap closes as you get closer to 6th, 7th grade.
What about 3rd and 4th graders right now? Are they, is that?
Closing the gap, so there's kids in there that are performing at or above the national, half the students that we recognize today on the MAP test in 1st grade were all dual language kiddos. So it's just showing that the teachers are using the data to really drive their instruction. They know there's a lot more on the table in terms of teaching in 2 different languages. It's just it's a different beast. And the teachers have the understanding that they're building proficiency and mastery in 2 languages, which is a little bit different than the English only class. closing the gap is our number one priority when we're looking at data.
But we really won't know till 6th or 7th grade is what you're telling me.
The data, the data that we look at historically nationwide shows that the equal balance is in the middle of middle school.
Gary, that's slide 4, the Thomas Collier graph. The bar is the average, and you kind of take the 5 or 6, 7 grade where they're increasing the average, the 1 and 2, that's the bar for those that are watching. Congratulations on the success of the program. And, you know, we say bubble, but first grade was 18 English-speaking students, kindergarten was 17, this we got 19 applicants. It doesn't look like a bubble, it looks like a trend. And so if you had 19, and if you could get 3 more Spanish-speaking students, that would be 29. Is that enough to support 2 classes?
So 5 Spanish-speaking students in a class, and roughly 14 and 15 English-speaking students in the other class?
Seems to hit the 33%.
If we're looking at if we're looking at the 33%, which is our minimum benchmark, the numbers kind of tell us that it would be appropriate.
So are you, in your recommendation for the current year, are you open to exploring that or is it not possible because it's too late?
That is a little bit out of I think there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen about who currently is teaching kindergarten, what does that look like for the other classes, what building, you know, there's a lot of questions that need to be, we're flexible to make anything happen. That is the vision of the question that you underlined 2 meetings ago, which is we really don't want to withhold any families back that are interested in their child being a part of dual language. What is that? We just really need to define what that looks like.
You know, I have a follow-up to that. So how many students, and maybe this is a joint question, how many kindergarten students do we have total signed up? And so we have, right now at Miller, we have one traditional kindergarten and 1 dual language. How many have signed up for the traditional kindergarten class at Miller?
29.
So you have 29 kids signed up.
Traditional English.
In traditional kindergarten.
Correct.
And you have, 17. Are these 9 students on the waiting list, are they part of the 29?
4 of them are. So that would be 33.
Okay, so
They
where
don't
did
get
the
into dual
others?
language.
Okay. So right now, for next year?
Yes.
For Miller, for dual language, you have, how many kids absolutely in there? 17?
17.
17. And you have 29 in the traditional class?
Correct.
And you say, how many are in the waiting?
9.
There's 9, but how many are going in the traditional?
5 are from Manning and 4 are from Miller that are on the waiting
Oh,
list.
okay, so they're from
Sorry.
Manning.
Yes.
Okay. So where are we, I guess where I'm trying to go to is if we have enough space, if we have enough students, do we have any way of having some Miller students go to Manning so that we can do 2 dual language at Miller? But then if we did 2 dual language at Miller, we would have to continue all the way up.
Right, it's committing to the program.
It's committing to the program.
A second classroom.
And that would just completely change the K-12 experience here. Yeah.
Do we know how many students are signed up for Manning for kindergarten?
For dual?
I think it's
How many duals?
54 is what,
54
54 is what was shared with me.
and 3 classes for 54?
Right.
Okay.
So that's
54 in that number, there's a handful of those 54 that are already in the Miller, in the dual language program at Miller.
Okay.
So I believe it's 4 or 5.
So 50, and if 4 or 5 go to Miller, is it 50 and you said 27 plus 19 and 5 more.
Plus
So
four
it's
is 50.
close to 50-50. And there's 2 classrooms in Miller and 3 at Manning?
Yes.
So that's like 18
Yeah.
each right now at Manning,
Yep.
in the 3 traditional Manning classes.
And then we're anticipating, if 24 is the recommendation,
Right.
having at least 24 in the dual language class based on the waiting list, and then however many we can support in the other kindergarten class. I don't know what the trend is or the pattern is for kindergarten numbers in the district over the last couple of years, but I'm sure the WTA and the board would have to discuss.
How many kids right now do we have in the 17-18 school year? How many kids do we have in the kindergarten dual language?
23.
23.
23. And how many do we have in the traditional?
22. At Miller.
So those numbers are higher.
And I believe, can't speak for Manning, 'cause I don't, but they started off the year somewhere around 14, and they're ending the year around 16, 17 in the 3 classes.
Right.
So,
Right.
And what would happen if we started one dual language program at Manning? And then the Manning students wouldn't have to go to Miller, and the Miller students wouldn't have to go to Manning? How would that break out? Do we know it?
we don't, but we can figure it out in 24 hours.
But then wouldn't you have to then offer that throughout the years at Manning?
Mhm.
Right.
So
You would?
you're still,
You'll be committing to the program there, too?
that's, yes.
Both schools offer dual language.
Unless you move to a grade level center model.
Yeah,
We keep talking about that tonight, and that's fine. I know this is just an open discussion, but as a board member, I would not be willing to move to grade level centers without a discussion with the community, because it affects the entire community.
Oh,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's a huge conversation that
Mhm.
we started 3 separate times, and so it's a huge
And in this
conversation.
situation, I think it bears a thought process.
And the other challenge, like even to open up another section at Manning, again, you're trying to hit that 1/3 ratio. And right now, when we first started the dual language program, the challenge was getting English-speaking families to commit and choose dual language. We don't have that issue. Now we need to make sure we have enough Spanish-speaking students to bring us up to that 1/3. So even if we were to possibly look at another section at Manning, you would need to try to have 1/3 of those students be Spanish-speaking.
Okay,
That comes back to the questions I was
That's why
asking
we're
earlier.
kind of right now
We have that
on the cusp of,
quantity.
we've got enough English-speaking students to have 2 sections, but
Right.
we don't have
We don't
enough
have the
Spanish-speaking students. And that's,
Spanish-speaking students.
that's kind of part of the dilemma.
So Tim, you were saying earlier that essentially all of the incoming Spanish-speaking students are going to Miller or are registered at Miller. Is that correct? There's
Not all, just 7 of them that we are aware of.
Okay.
And in the screening process, we're going to find out
If there's any addition.
who is additional.
Okay,
We
so
have
it's
4 more
possible
days
there
of
are-
screeners.
Okay.
And we'll be able to find out what language they speak at home.
And you're thinking that at least 3, right?
Based on trends.
Right, but
3
that's what I'm saying.
additional
So
from now
you,
until the end of summer.
so you know of 7.
No of 7.
And so you're anticipating 3 or 4 based on what you know
Correct.
that will be, but not like 15.
That would not follow trend data.
Because,
that
yeah,
we-
because that would,
None of our current dual language classrooms have 15 ELL students in there.
Yeah.
The highest, I believe, is 11
yeah.
ELL students.
So I mean, I didn't even connect that until just right now.
And Rick, you had asked the question, what happens if you get up to 10 Spanish-speaking students? Could you have 2 sections, 5 Spanish-speaking and 15? The thing that we have to be careful then is what that does to the traditional kindergarten classes and where those numbers end up, because you don't want to, by solving the the issue with dual language, are you going to have large class sizes in the traditional? So that's the other, I mean, that's part of the challenge at Miller right now. When you have one traditional and one dual language is, you know, how do you make sure that you're not increasing the size of the traditional too large?
I mean, I think it'd be interesting, though, to really look at the numbers across the whole district and see, I mean, if there's 18 students per classroom at Manning, and we don't really know whether some of those are Spanish-speaking kids who might be interested in dual language, and then you know, sort of mix in the 33 that are currently in the English-speaking at Miller. I mean, it might just balance itself out, but we don't know that right now. So
Do you, okay, so did we answer this question already? Do you know of the Manning incoming families? Do you know if any of them are potentially Spanish-speaking families who would go into that, or is that part of the 7 makeup, the 7 students?
Part of those 7, can't tell you exactly how many are Manning students.
Okay.
Part of the 7 are some students from Manning.
Okay, so it's not just, so in your kindergarten registration,
right.
the district kindergarten registration, we have determined that there are some families from Manning and Miller, not just Miller.
I think the question is, we don't know how many more
Yes.
there are that
Yes.
might be interested.
Of
Right.
those already registered, Laura, that's your question? Of those already registered?
Right,
Yes.
of those already registered across both schools.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
I guess I just have one final question. Has anybody left the program in the first 4 years, you know, we're completing
Yes.
kindergarten through 4, have zero, I mean, that didn't move out of district but decided not to continue with the program?
4 that are currently at Miller, and I believe 1 moved back to Manning in the
So 5 students and...
5 students total.
can I just clarify something? This Thomas Collier graph, this is statistically why we did what we did, right? So that's not really, I think what Gary's asked question was different. How do our kids track, right?
Mhm.
So that wasn't necessarily
Against
this.
our kids, against the kids.
Right,
that's
okay,
fine.
I just wanted to clarify that. That was a different question. Okay. Well, I imagine we'll be talking about this.
Yeah, probably after we complete the screeners,
Yeah.
we'll have a better handle on just how many Spanish-speaking students we have in the district.
So we have one meeting in June and one meeting in July, and registration is in August this year? So we'll be talking about this next month.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else have any? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item for discussion is proposed student handbook revisions, second reading.
If the board remembers, Kevin Weck was at our board meeting, our last board meeting, to propose the handbook revisions, and Tim Weiler is the co-facilitator for that committee. So if the board has any questions about the proposed changes, Tim can field those from the board. And then later on tonight, we'd be asking the board to approve the handbook changes.
Okay, any questions? Anybody? Okay. Then the next item is the presentation of monthly financial statements.
Good evening. The April financial statements are attached for your review. During the month of April, the district received $310,000 from the state. $120,000 of that was for general state aid payments, and there's $191,000 vouchered. In the ed and tort funds, we received $191,000, and then there's $72,000 of fiscal year 18 payments that are vouchered but not released. In the O&M fund, again, our revenues are a little bit lower than the prior average, and again, this is because of rental revenue receipts. In the transportation fund, we received $119,000 from the state. That represented our second quarter categorical payments, and the state has vouchered another $118,000, and that is for the third quarter payments. And then expenditures in the Ed and Tort Fund are comparable to the prior year average. In the O&M Fund, we're 69% spent to date. We were 64% spent at this time last year. And again, in transportation funds, that varies year to year, just again, based on the timing of receipts of invoices. So we're where we should be at this point in the year. If you look at our investments, you can see our investment balances continue to decrease. That's because we're getting toward the end of the year. We're actually scheduled to have a tax distribution tomorrow, which is earlier than normal because of all the prepayments of tax bills. So we have, out of our total fund balance of $12.6 million, we have $11 million of that invested, and then the other reports, activity funds and lunch report are there as well. Does anybody have questions?
Okay, thank you. The next item is policy, first reading.
Presented for the board are a number of policies that are being considered for adoption. There is no action that's taken this evening. That'll happen at our June 19th board meeting. And the policy committee is still reviewing some of the policies. We got preempted a little bit with the fire alarm. So we got delayed, and there are a number that we are reviewing. But again, the board has an opportunity to review those as well between now and the 19th. And then a lot of the changes are footnotes and then some minor changes with many of the policies. But then any policies that we think possibly should be pulled for additional consideration, we'll share that with the board at the June 19th meeting as well.
So there, you did have a partial meeting.
Right, we had a
but
partial meeting.
There isn't anything to report from that tonight? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Then action items. The first one is the approval of student handbook changes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the recommended revisions to the elementary, junior high, and high school student handbooks as presented.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is approval of math series. Have any questions? This is following up on last meeting. Any questions? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the math series as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Strohmeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the next one is the chair will entertain a motion to authorize and direct the treasurer to pay any bills received in May 2018 that have been budgeted for the 2018 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's report.
A couple items in my report. First, on May 1st, we had our joint committee meeting. The Climate Committee reviewed the data from the District 5 Essentials Survey and began planning for the 18-19 school year. The PR committee is working on, in the fall, we want to have a meeting with local real estate agents to promote the district and share information with them. And we're planning on having that in September or October of next school year. The Strategic Plan Committee thinks they are very close to having a completed strategic plan that they'll be bringing to the board for discussion and review before approval. And then the Facility Finance Committee reviewed the summer building projects that were discussed at the board meeting, and that will be completed this summer. And then the other thing that we talked about with the joint committee meeting, it came up as a board discussion about possibly looking at that format going forward. And so this summer we'll be looking at that and determining if that's the best format for us going forward, or if we want to retool it. And we let the committee members know that in the fall. We would let them know what the plan will be for going forward. And then just again, this evening, well, first of all, congratulations to Larissa Zalisco, our Westmont High School guidance counselor, who was recognized as a finalist for the 2018 Illinois Counselor of the Year Award by the Illinois School Counseling Association. And then Jane Most, our Westmont High School English teacher, was named Educator of the Year by the Westmont Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. So congratulations to those two staff members. And then again, we recognize Cindy Caliendo, Laura Hayes, Diana Mulvey, and Liz Zelgado this evening on their retirement at the end of the school year. And I've always make the comment that, you know, we can find individuals, we'll hire individuals, we'll find individuals to perform those duties, but you can never replace the relationships and the friendships of each of those individuals, and so they'll be greatly missed, and we thank them for their many years of service to School District 201.
Okay, that's it, Kevin?
Yep, that's
okay, are there any board reports?
Well, this is the last meeting before school's over, so I hope everybody has a great summer. Congratulations to all the graduates.
Yes. Okay, are there any public comments? All right, upcoming meeting and events. May 16th, that's tomorrow, the high school spring band and choral concert and student exhibit. Again, May 16th at 7 o'clock at Westmont High School. Then on May 23rd, the Westmont Junior and Senior High School Spring Jazz Concert, 7 o'clock, May 23rd, Westmont High School. Memorial Day, May 28th, no school that day. The high school graduation will be May 29th, 2018 at 7 o'clock at Westmont High School. The junior high school graduation will be May 31st, 7 o'clock, again here at Westmont High School. The last day of school will be June 1st, 2018, and the next school board meeting will be June 19th, 7 o'clock at Westmont Village Hall.
Marie, I had one more quick thing I just remembered. Yes. Just so the community knows and other board members know, next Monday, a jazz band from Germany is coming here and spending 7 or 8 days with local families. This is a high school in Germany, in Walsrode, Germany, that we went to last year, and they will be performing at the Red, White, and Barbecue on Sunday. It's a free concert. Everybody's invited. I can tell you that they're an awesome band, and to watch the two bands play, you know, not necessarily together. Sometimes they do songs together, sometimes they don't, but it was quite an event in Germany, so I'm hoping we can get a lot of community participation there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gary. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues and the sale or lease of property.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
And there will not be a vote at the end of closed session. Thank you.